I'm Nikki here at Ambion Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the Wild Earth website, head across to the Live Safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next Wild Earth drive.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
The mornings are getting chillier and darker as we move so much further into the thick of winter. And here in the Sabi Sands and Tswalu Game Reserve where I am right now, there's the potential for so much. There could be wild dogs, but I'm looking for a leopard this morning. So we're out here on quarantine having a good listen. See if we can pick up on anything, but nothing just yet. But I'm excited and I hope that you are too. So jump on board, everybody, for your live safari through the African bush. It's me, Trishala. I've got Owen on camera with me this morning. We're here on Tswalu Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. We're having a bit of a rolling start. We did have a nice look out towards quarantine, but we already actually moved towards the west of quarantine, checked in for any tracks around Vietela Access, etc. Hoping to find something to give us some focus for this morning. And I'm very happy to be back, and always what I like to do on my first day back after some time away from the bush is to just drive around, reacquaint myself with the area and what's been happening. But like I said, the potential for wild dogs, I believe you've had some great wild dog sightings the last few days. Also some great leopard sightings, so I want to get in on that. I'm sure that you do too today. So this is your live safari, everyone. Use that hashtag WildEarth. You can use @FC on the YouTube chat stream as well. You can also go to our website and register and use our questions and comments box. We'd love to hear from all of you. If you are under 18, please use kids questions at wildearth.tv. It's not too bad this morning. It is chilly, but you know me, I always get cold. But it's about 12 degrees Celsius, 53 degrees Fahrenheit. But definitely not as chilly as I thought it may be. Thank you, everybody. Everybody is welcoming me back. Thank you so much, guys. It was quite a short break. Just enough to recharge and then jump straight back into the hot seat. Hello, Stianboki. Good morning. Never mind. Oh, if it bounces away. Oh, there we go. A morning Stianbok. That's good enough for me. Oh, I love the way they push their ears down as they move through the thicket. Beautiful. Now we're going to... So what I like to do is kind of keep tabs on where sightings have been or which areas seem to have been particularly productive. And one leopard that I do really want to see that I haven't seen before is Moya. And I know that she's been kind of going in and out between Djuma and Little Gowrie and has had a drink at Treehouse Dam in the past. So we're going to head in that direction. I was just spending a bit of time out here in quarantine watching the Stianbok, for example, checking if there are any other antelope around, because one wild dog was heard on the dam cam, not very close though. But this is always a good spot for them. It's sort of their arena. So it was a good idea to kind of hang around here for a little bit. But for now, let us continue on and head a little bit more south towards Treehouse Dam. Obviously, also keeping an eye out for tracks. But nothing nothing to report just yet. I'm just glad to be out here and to have you all on board with me. Anyway, I'm sure it's not just Djuma where it's chilly. Other locations will also be quite chilly this morning, but let me send you over to have a look at the weather.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to and Beyond Ngala's Private Game Reserve, where we've got quite a chilly morning as well on the side. My name is Ruel, and behind the camera, I'm with Mpho over there. So this morning, we are set out to try and see if we can go back to that area where we had the leopard with the carcass yesterday, and I'm actually hoping that throughout the night there would have been a lot of changes and a lot of developments, and just to see what would have happened to the carcass, if the leopard's still in the area, if the hyenas managed to get the carcass, if anything could have changed from yesterday. If we get lucky enough to find that leopard up the tree, I would be excited. However, because since being out here there isn't any guarantee of anything like that, if we don't, and we're not any lucky with that, we'll change our plan. Head back down to the central part, and then I'm going to try my best to get to that elephant carcass and see what could have happened, because I know that yesterday in the evening the Birmingham Pride was feeding on that carcass, and that there was also a lot of hyenas in the area. So hopefully we get a little bit of interaction if we get signal in the area. But between here and the leopard, we'll see if we can manage to find some animals for you guys before we get to the leopard. And after the leopard, we'll see if we'll get some animals between there and on our way to the elephant carcass this morning. So whatever we find will be great, whether it is birds, elephants, giraffe, zebras and impalas, wildebeest, all of that. And yeah, we'll see what we find basically. Alan, you're asking when will the elephant carcass start decomposing? I'm not sure, but it will take quite a few days. It's quite a big animal, but also that is influenced by the climate. So if it was summer and it was extremely hot, then it would actually, that process would happen faster, maybe within a week. And I've seen in the property, I think a couple of times where we've had elephant carcasses. I think in all three occasions was due to the reason of a fight between two bulls, and one of the other bulls died. Because it didn't take a week for that elephant carcass to start decomposing and all that. But because of the help of the hyenas and the vultures, going to eat almost nothing left except skin and the big bones that the hyenas could not chew off. But I can promise you one thing, the smell there is not pretty. So we'll see what we find this morning for you guys out there. Hopefully we get some exciting stuff. So we'll send you guys to Trushala in Juma.
We're quite close to Treehouse Dam at the moment, but it is amazing up here. It's in a bit of a dip, but it's in the crest a bit off the dip, if that makes sense. And the sun's just poking through, and it's just misty all over. Can you see that? The way the light is diffusing. Oh, it's beautiful. Can you hear? I can hear a bearded woodpecker. Oh, it's stunning. Isn't that amazing? I feel like I'm in some sort of haunted bush story. All right, let's move towards the dam. I'm stopping quite often just to have a listen. Being for me at least, one of the best clues to the whereabouts of any activity, whether it's elephants or leopards or hyenas or wild dogs or birds. It's just stopping to listen. Elephants is also high on the priority list today. So beautiful. Seems like it's even getting thicker. Just lovely. I'm sorry, I know I showed it to you already, but it's just taking my breath away, so I have to share it. That's the whole point, isn't it? For you to come on live safari with me. Oh, interesting. I can hear a hyena whooping at the den. Actually, it's not. It's further off to the west. Okay, let's do a little bit of investigating. This hyena is calling in the block that's over to my west, so I can't get in there. So what we can do is we're going to do a bit of like a loop. See if we can pick up on someone coming through. Actually, while we're here, let's just quickly pop to the den. I know that nothing has been happening on that front lately. I was also deeply saddened by the news of Chimbulu's death. That's Ribbon's cub. So, be nice to see them and kind of just get the joy of hyenas back into me. While we're off to the den, hopefully there'll be somebody there.
I just thought we should at least just take a few minutes, just sit and saw that beautiful sunrise coming out. So maybe we'll take 2 minutes or so, just sit down and listen, see if we can hear some birds and all that, and we'll watch that sunrise this morning.
Good morning and welcome to Wild Earth. We are live on Bushwalk at Eco Trading Bridelands. We are about to start our walk at Leopard Dam. But first we're going to enjoy the sunrise and see which trucks are coming in and out from the dam, so that we can make a plan from there in terms of deciding which species we're going to follow up on. My name is JP LaRue, and behind the camera we've got Craig. Meanwhile, there's a number of Egyptian geese sitting in the center of the pond over there. If you would like to have a look, it's quite spectacular with them and the mist in the water and the sun that's rising in the backdrop. We're just going to allow for a silent moment so you can enjoy the sounds of nature and that beautiful sunrise. Good morning, Megan, and welcome to the show. It is absolutely stunning, and the atmosphere is pretty amazing with the mist coming off the water and that beautiful golden hue of the sun in the backdrop. We're going to be here a little bit longer and start looking at what the trucks are doing, and then in the meanwhile I'm going to hand you over to Rule and see what he's up to.
All right, we are still on our way down towards where that leopard was yesterday, and there's one animal that's I've been longing to see for the past few days. And I'm just going to try and see if I can get the right place to position the vehicle. But there is like a nice large journey where we are. I think I counted at least 7 giraffe in this area. So I'll try and see if I can maneuver my way around and to be on the other side with the sun shining on it. And then see if we'll spend some time with this animal. So we'll send you guys to Trishala around June.
Well, we are still in the same or similar area to where you left us last, around Treehouse Dam, but now we're on Shabama Road. I've decided to come down here because there were some female leopard tracks that were on Savage's track, which is the other road that leads to Treehouse Dam. But they were leading towards the dam and we were coming from the dam. So if it were fresh and the animal was right there, we would have seen it, but they were not. So, and the tracks seemed to cut through the block, which is this block that's off to my east at the moment. So we're gonna just take it easy and slow on this road, be a little meticulous about checking all the areas. They looked fairly good, those tracks. I'd say maybe a couple hours old, if not less. I always find it a bit trickier when you're in the moisture of the morning as opposed to after the moisture. Hello, you guys. There's some kudu just through this little gap. Couple youngsters and some females. They have loose aggregation, so sometimes you'll see a couple of bulls with them, mature ones, young ones. So they don't have a strict family group. Great antelope to keep an eye out for, apart from the fact that they're beautiful. It's also a good indicator of where to look. Look at that. Channeling in all that sound. This is great for us because that's the direction I hope this will be in. So we're going to go and check that out because Angus, say good morning all the way from Peter.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to And Beyond Phinda. We've decided to try and come to our hyena den this morning. As you can see at the moment, it doesn't look like there are any hyena here, but I think we'll just take a few moments, spend a few minutes here and see if any of them do emerge. I think usually the adults are sometimes a little bit further back, lying quite close to the den, but the little cubs that we've been seeing here will most probably still be in there. Might be a little bit warmer than it is on the outside. But my name is Angus, and behind the camera we've got Johan. Thanks for joining us on your very own live safari this morning. I thought I did see a little bit of movement through these tamboti trees earlier. I didn't actually manage to work out whether it was just a bird or actually a hyena. What I saw was just some leaves moving on one of the trees further back. So there could be a hyena lying down there that every now and then they might flick their tail and move their paws or their legs. Sometimes you just need to wait a little bit, hang around for a while, and eventually these cubs do seem to pop out and come play. So we're just going to spend a few more minutes here and see what happens.
Today is no ordinary day. We have many people on the vehicle. We have Dawn Rial here and we have Miss Gabby. They are holders of the Ticket to Dream.
It's a very special opportunity for us and a learning experience for Gabby.
My favorite is the wild dog because it's like painted a little bit.
If you want to go on safari with a Wild Earth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
My most favorite part about Wild Earth is I have learned so many things and I have become interested in so many things that I never even knew about.
I'm going to ask my friends and my whole class, even my teacher, to go on safari.
We wanted to buy a Ticket to Dream because we wanted our family to have this as a special time in our lives that we can always look back and reflect on. This is a dream to be here.
Across Southern and East Africa, the Endangered Wildlife Trust works tirelessly to save species, protect critical habitats and benefit people. Join the EWT in returning wildlife to the wild. Go to ewt.org.za to find out more and follow our socials to see how you can get involved. Protecting forever, together.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinde Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Guys, just watch what's happening. See, watch the elephants, watch the lions. See, the first ones to run are the cubs. Can you see them? They are right here. I'm not sure how scared you were, but I was quite nervous. But absolutely incredible.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Welcome back to Pinde, and while we're just sitting at the den and waiting, we're trying to do a little bit of birding. It has been it's quite difficult to get them on screen, but at the moment there was one little bird that looked like a Camaroptera to me. It's just gone back off into a thicket. We'll definitely try and find some more for you as we wait, especially because there are no hyenas at the moment. You can see that little burrow in the middle of your screen, and hyenas will usually have a den site where they'd move, or a few den sites within their territory, and they'll stay at one. It depends on the area and the specific land, but they can stay in one for a period as little as a few weeks to a couple of months. And the reason why they would move is sometimes the dens become quite infested with fleas, for instance, and things that would probably make the hyenas' lives a little bit uncomfortable. So after they've decided it's probably a little bit too much for them to handle, then they'll move off to another den site within their territory. So clans usually actually have 2 or 3 den sites that they would know about. And so what's interesting about this one, there are quite a few little burrows around here. And they've recently actually just moved from one side, from that one on your screen. They used to be found there. Well, that's where they seem to be going in and out of, the cubs. Oh, it's a brown-hooded kingfisher calling. And they seem to have just moved like 15 to 20 meters away to the other little burrow. I think we'll try and get this brown-hooded kingfisher and Oh, that's the other little burrow now. On top of that dead tree. Sorry, I've got Johan scrambling around on the back seat here. There it is. So we aren't near water at all. And the reason why you'd see this kingfisher here is because they don't actually eat fish. This is a typical bushveld type of kingfisher. So they'd be found in bushveld savanna. And they'll eat insects. But you can see a lovely little streak of blue on its primary wing feathers there. There's some other green wood hoopoes calling as well. And a purple crested Turako. So I think after no activity here at the moment, we'll spend just maybe another 5 to 10 minutes here, and then we'll keep going and try and find you something else. But we'll send you over to Tswalu in Juma.
We're here on the southern fire break, where I'm sure you've heard all about the burning of these areas. It's very, very important to control the spread of fires. I think Lauren did a really nice segment with Rex and starting the fire and stuff like that. So you know all about fire break management. But we are seeing here a bit of a feeding frenzy, which is why I stopped. These starlings, and there's a whole lot of different ones. There's the Birchall starling, my favorite one, the greater blue-eared glossy starling, as well as the Cape glossy starling, all together. Busy, 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 picking off survivors of the fire, basically. So what the fire has done is has flushed out insects in this area, and the fire is actually still smoldering. So it's still hot. So insects that sometimes are deep beneath the ground, all of them will start to emerge because they want to escape the heat. Apart from that, there will be some dead insects around, but that's not primarily what they want. They want the ones that are emerging, trying to escape. It's basically a free market, like a buffet, and all you can eat. I can't even count how many there are. They're all over. And what's awesome to see is often, so starlings do move in flocks, but we don't see that very often because they're so common out here, and a lot of them have adapted to hanging around where humans have settled because they know they can get scraps and things like that. So we don't get to watch their flocking behavior. But as they pick this little patch, you'll see them all move together to the next little patch, and that's really, really cool to see. I'm not sure I got that question correctly, but it was by, got it right. It was by Leopard Lover, but Elton will help me in a moment and send it through to me again. leopard lover, that is a really cool question. You'd like to know which bird species is likely to lead you to water if you're in the bush and you need to look for water. Firstly, the first thing you should do if you're in the bush and need to look for water, before you start looking for water birds, is find a drainage and then follow that drainage. Because, you know, water funnels downward. So all those common sense things to use first. But once you found yourself a drainage, oh look, more starlings arriving. Once you found yourself a drainage, you want to look out for birds that enjoy water, that hang around near the water. So you're thinking of things like lapwings, storks. You're always going to find them near water. Thickneys. All those birds. But also remember, it's very difficult to follow a bird. But the idea is nice. This is amazing to see. In Australia, you actually, well, there's some research that has shown that a lot of birds have, well, not a lot, but like a black kite and a few other species of birds have been known to actually take pieces of burning material and drop them in other areas. And by dropping them in other areas, they will set alight those new areas, and that will flush out the species again. Small mammals, small reptiles, insects, all of those things, so that they can get involved in a feeding frenzy. And they can pick off anything that's trying to escape. I'm just going to grab the name of that viewer again. It was about whether we have red-winged starlings in Djuma. Was it Bill? Bill, hi Bill. No, we don't get them at Djuma, but we definitely get them around. Where I'm from in KwaZulu-Natal, you see them a lot. But we don't get them here on Djuma. Just like we don't get Indian miners in Djuma. That's also a type of starling. But you do actually find them nearby, which always intrigues me, how that can be the case. Very cool how they're hopping around. Look at that, so many. And there's also some Cape turtle doves in the mix as well. You'll find often when there is this kind of resource availability, this sudden abundance, birds that you don't often see eating insects or hanging around with starlings, all that kind of thing, all of that falls away. And they will be in the thick of it just because of the abundance. And like I said, the same thing goes for herbivores. In a time when there's lots of alates around, they don't usually go, hunting, but you might see steenbok or impala or duiker eating some alates. And that's because abundance is something that's rare. Well, this is very, very cool. I'm glad I got to share it with you. We're going to keep on moving perhaps to Twin Dams and kind of just sit there and see what's happening. I'm going to send you over to Angus. He's still at the den. I'm wishing him luck.
Welcome back, and we just had a brief glimpse of a hyena here while we've been waiting. And I think it might be worth just trying to hang around a little bit more now. I have found sometimes in the mornings they seem to come out when the sun is shining a little bit stronger. Perhaps they want to wait for it to get a bit warmer and try and get some heat into their bodies. You can see the sun just poking through the trees at the moment, so it's only just risen. I mentioned how they might have moved dens. Well, this is basically the same den, but moved into a different little burrow. But we had a little view in this one, which is where I thought the older one was. So I think they could even be using both at the moment. Doing our best to just scan around and try and find anything.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. We're just currently walking on one of the game trails that's moving away from Leopard Dam to try and see what we can go and find for the morning. It's still quite cool at the moment and there's not a lot of activity, not even in terms of sounds so far this morning. We were trying a little bit earlier to come into an area where there was monkeys that were alarm calling in the distance. However, those alarm calls have also stopped. So now we're just keeping our eyes open, our ears open, and listening to what the sounds are doing. Quite often the presence of predators as well as other dangerous game species is made clear by species such as oxpeckers, vervet monkeys, and baboons, and even tree squirrels and a number of different bird species, which will tell us what's going on in the area. Sometimes we also can just look at the body language of specific animals and how they react and immediately know that there will be a predator in the area. Other important clues that we always look for is on the ground to see which tracks are coming through an area, as this can also tell us what species has been around. And we can also determine if those tracks are fresh or old, and if they are value of following up on or not. For me, one of the greatest things to be able to do is to walk in the bush, as it enables me to use all my skills in terms of hearing, looking at tracks, and it just becomes like if you become part of the whole environment. Nothing's changed just yet. The birds are still calling all around us though, which is really cool. It's nice to have the sounds of the bushveld all around us. We've been
spending some time doing things like trying to ID some trees. So if you look next to me here, you can see I've got quite a few different branches, and we've managed to ID this one. This one's a wild olive, which you can find in the Kruger National Park as well. But there's another type of olive tree here in South Africa. I'll show you. This is what we RD'd this tree as. It was quite a long, tedious process because I didn't really know where to start when I saw the tree. And then what you do, you go into the beginning of your book and you have to go through this key and follow all the steps. So you'll start over here and you'll look at the leaves and how the leaves are arranged on the branches, and from there, so that's why I took that sample, and then from there you'll follow all these steps in these pages until eventually, hopefully it'll tell you where to go. It's not an extremely easy thing to do, but with practice it becomes easier and easier. But I know it's been quite a frustrating process trying to learn how to use that key properly, and it's hit and miss. Sometimes you get it, so luckily we managed to ID this one. There is another little sample that I want to try and do while we wait at the den, and hopefully I'll be able to get back to you perhaps a little bit later in the show and let you know what I found. This tree is not with us at the moment, so I just took a little branch from a tree that we were driving past. Let me keep it still so it's a bit easier for Johan. And things we'll look out for is, I mentioned how the leaves are arranged on the branches. So what you do is, often what's quite important is you try and crush up the leaves and look for a smell. Look at whether the edges of the leaves, if they're straight or wavy. You can see this one is definitely wavy. You can also see if they're serrated, so if they have little teeth on them. That's one of the characteristics that will definitely be asked in that key in the book, as well as how I mentioned how they arrange. So on the twig, you see how the leaves are almost opposite to each other. And a little bit further up, it looks like they come off the twig at almost just on the other side of the other one. So that's what we call opposite or sub-opposite. So I presume I'll be going into the section of the book that'll show us that. And this tree was quite small, so you'll have to look at the jizz or the general size and shape. And hopefully we'll be able to find it a little bit later. But for now, a brief glimpse is all we've had so far. Okay, there are 3 cubs at this den at the moment. So I haven't actually seen all 3 together for quite a long time. So I think the last time I saw them all together was probably about 2 weeks ago. And it'll be nice to just confirm, because sometimes you'll see one and then another one. So I could be seeing the same 3 cubs over and over, but I haven't been able to confirm whether they are all still around. Often with hyenas, not all the cubs will make it. So the usual litter size is about 2. So these are from at least 2 different, or they are from 2 different litters, I presume. There's 2 cubs that are very, very similar size, so I think they are siblings, and another one that's a little bit bigger. And that's why I think it's really worth the effort to just sit and spend some time here. Like we mentioned earlier with keying all these trees, we've got some other stuff to keep us busy while we wait. We spoke about the birds and the sounds. And birding definitely makes your safari a little bit more interesting, because it's like it could be a rare sighting around every corner, basically, if you want to look for a particular special bird. And you know where to look. It's just a little bit more interest in where you are and what you're looking for, on top of obviously the bigger things like the cats and the big 5. thought I just saw something move in that one burrow. But let's send you over to Tswalu and Juma so long. And hopefully I'll see you all again soon.
So we are now quite close to Twin Dams. I've just checked this 2-track that allows me to look down into the Mawati. Oh well, there we go. Kind of look down into the Mawati. I hear lots of sticklers calling, but I wonder if it was just because of me, because I hopped out. So I don't see any tracks down this end. Let's quickly show you the dam. Nothing's happening in it, but I'll show it to you quickly. I'll look out for tracks a little bit more. Very quiet. But we might get a nice look. We might get a nice look into the Mawati a little further down. So let's have a go. It's been very quiet down the southern end of Juma. I was actually hoping that there would be some elephants here. But you already knew that, most likely. Okay, let's have a look. So down here, if we look through there, you can actually see a little bit into the Mawati. It's always nice to just have a look because the leopard Mawati uses this crossing, so do a lot of other leopards. So it's always good to have a look. But for now, we're going to keep on going on Twin Dams Road and see what else we can find.
The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, encourages people to care for the earth. Through innovative projects, they aim to reverse the serious issues that we face in the world today. One of these projects is Green Coast, a proudly South African award for sensitive and well-managed coastal sites. This sustainability project protects our national coastlines while providing unemployed youth with a love for their environment and a hope for the future. WESA is a membership and volunteer-supported organisation. Every supporter is helping to change the only earth we have. Visit our website to see how you can help care for our earth.
I love being a cam-up for Wild Earth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Baby pangolin. This is off the charts. This animal is about from your fingertips to your elbow. That's the total length of this animal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. So quite often we look at a number of trees that has got interesting cultural, medicinal and practical uses, but also association of insects and other animals. And the tree that we are looking at the moment is known as the African wattle. It looks very much like a thorn tree, but when you rub your hands through the leaves, you'll notice that there's absolutely no thorns or spines that are there to protect them. So one of the interesting cultural uses that they use this plant for is to take the leaves, the roots, as well as the bark, and that's then used for treating internal parasites inside humans, should you get some worms and things that are unwelcome in your body. Now, some of the other interesting things that I do find about this tree is that it has an association with a spittlebug. Therefore, it's also known as a rain tree, because quite often what this little spittlebug will do is it will start feeding on the leaves and start dropping the moisture down to the ground, or the excess moisture that it has produced. And then that will be reabsorbed by the plant eventually. Another thing that I find particularly interesting about this plant is that it creates large masses of beautiful yellow flowers, which attracts both bees and wasps. And therefore it's quite often very popular with beekeepers, so they'll plant this quite close by to their beehives to attract bees, but also to provide them with nectar. What we also find in a lot of the rural areas surrounding us is that there's a lot of conflict between humans and elephants. And they've actually, where elephants will specifically come and raid the crops of people in the rural communities. It has actually been encouraged lately to plant plants that attracts large amounts of bees and to start putting up beehives, because for some reason elephants and bees just don't get along very well. And the presence of a beehive and bees is very effective in terms of deterring elephants coming to feed on the crops. We're going to continue our walk, but let's go and see what Rishola has in Juma.
I am enjoying the sun. That's basically all I'm up to at the moment. Still on Twin Dams Road. Been finding some elephant activity, or rather evidence that elephants were once active at that spot in the recent past. Lots of tracks, probably from last night, because the branches that were broken around were not fresh, you know. So they're kind of a little bit droopy. This is probably from last night. But we're going to... What do you see there, Owen? Oh. So we're going to try and actually move to do another loop, see if the elephant tracks maybe come out of the block over on that side, or Weaver's Nest. Let's have a quick look here at Chile Pans. It's starting to heat up negligibly, but it's starting to happen. And this is always a nice pan for birds to come and drink at. Let's see, lots of smaller birds, firefinches, wax bulls, petilias, they drink here quite often. Hi, Glendon. I think it was Glendon. Hi, good morning. You'd like to know if I've tasted any wild fruits here at Djuma. I love marulas. Marulas are amazing. I've definitely tried them. They're really, really good. The other one that I like are white berries from a white berry bush. They're also very, very tasty, but they're so small, so you don't get a lot of flesh from them. And well, there's not much happening here at Chelepan, so let's head on back. Our mission to see if those elephants came out. Now this morning, just before we started drive, I thought I heard some cracking of branches, but usually it's a consistent sound because it's a lot of them feeding. So sometimes it's not a lot, but it's them feeding, so it's not just a once-off sound. It seems like a once-off sound. There's still so much vegetation, and green vegetation too, so I wouldn't imagine that they would have moved very far. Yesterday when I was driving in to camp, you pass a number of drainages. When you're actually on the road, there's a number of drainages that you pass. I'm in the tar road, and I saw some elephants as I drove in, so that was cool. Anyway, Lauren is on dam cam, and she's all set up, so why don't you go over so she can say hello.
Hello. Yes, Lauren is on dam cam. It's rather unfortunate that Rusty has broken down, I'm afraid, but it's nice to have Trishala back, an all-girl team. Hopefully we'll have both cars out so we really can girl power it. But I'm just enjoying the beautiful scenes of the dam cam at the moment, watching the sun come up, starting to see all of life moving around. But of course, I'm not going to be able to go anywhere. So have your questions at least ready for me, and I will try and do my very best to answer them on the dam cam. Naturally, the dam cam's a fantastic tool. It really can pick things up. Dogs, leopards. The tricky thing is the audio, especially in winter. When we do get sort of notification that a leopard is sawing or a lion is roaring, it is very hard to come in and follow up and try and find out where that audio is coming from, because the microphone is extremely sensitive and extremely powerful. It's a wonderful tool. It means that we can hear all that is going on around. But it's lovely to have Trishala back. I am more than sure that she'll get lucky. The sightings right now have been incredible. Leopards dropping out of the sky everywhere. I'm changing my mind on the direction. I'm going to go back over the water. Look at that perfect reflection of the marula there. Okay, I'm going to sit here, see if anything pops up on the dam cam, and you guys are going to head over to Rural at Ngala.
All right, so there's been an interesting turn of events. We drove past the area where the leopard was yesterday with the carcass, and there was no sign of the carcass nor the leopard. We did, however, see some hyenas running off and hear them running off in a distance. So right now we had tracks of some lions around this area, and I've just heard reports of a male lion in the direction that we're heading in. I'm gonna try and see if we can get to where this male lion is. It sounds like he's still on the move. Maybe he's also trying to find the rest of the pride. Hopefully he'll lead us to where the rest of these animals are. Thinking that this could be the pride that I've been trying to find, the ones that has got the small cubs. It would be fantastic if the male would actually lead us to where the rest of those lions are. on for you guys. So we'll send you guys to Pinda while we try and find him. To Angus.
Thanks, Rule, and welcome back to Pinda. Still not much has happened since we've been here. You can see it's becoming a little bit lighter. The sun is getting higher in the sky. We managed to ID a tree, the one we spoke about earlier. This looks like it is a small leaf guari. So I actually didn't go through all the key. We just thought, oh, it looks a little bit like a guari, so let's go to the family and look around through those ones. And luckily we managed to find it. So very, very happy. I'm learning a little bit while we wait. I was saying that one of the best parts about Wild Earth is that you can... I think Johan might have just spotted something in the den. Let me get out the way for you. Nothing at the moment. Maybe a little ear just poked out. That got me excited for a little while after waiting so long. It'll definitely be worth it if we can eventually see something. Matthews, I agree with you. It's such an awesome hyena den because we have quite a nice view of the whole den, and it's amazing to be able to sit with these hyena and watch them so easily. It's often, I know, we're not doing that at the moment, but it is really, really special to be able to observe hyena because it's actually, they're an animal that people don't know a lot about. I think they're a very, very complex type of animal. Oh wow, there's an awesome little bird. We won't try and get it on screen now. I'll wait for it to come out, if it does. That's a pink-throated twin-spot cooling, which is a very, very special bird for this region here in Maputo land or Zulu land. You can hear that very high-pitched trilling sound. It did just come out very briefly, but it's flown right back into the middle of a thicket. And they usually live in small groups. Richard, I don't know how deep it is exactly. I know that as you go deeper and deeper, and it'll probably get narrower. It seems like the youngsters are actually the ones that stay in the den, and the adults are normally found lying around on the outside. So the youngsters will go into that den and actually dig little tunnels that only they'll be able to fit in, and that'll probably give them, when they need to, just a space to rest quite peacefully. Sometimes the sub-adults in the clan are quite mean to them and bully them a little bit. So if they can get into those little crevices without being bothered, it is usually definitely a welcome bit of respite for the youngsters. But I think they are relatively deep. Sometimes I've seen a hyena pop down one and then come up another one. So I think they can go sometimes for a few meters under the ground. Wow, I'd love to show you these twin spots. But it seems like they've just moved off, and they are a very, very difficult bird to even just see with binoculars, but to get it on camera is almost impossible. So I'll show you in the book. So I've just pulled out my bird book, and I'll just try and show you what we were looking for there. So I got to look at them with my binoculars, and this is what they look like here. And you can see what makes them quite special is where they exist. So you can see in South Africa they only exist here in this northeastern part and in Swaziland and then into Mozambique, and there's a tiny little population up there, it looks like, in Limpopo, but I don't think it'll probably be quite difficult to spot them over there. But beautiful. You can see the male is a little bit more colourful than the female, but definitely a special bird to look for when you're coming here to Phinda. So I think
Well, we are now at Viatella Dam, and I'm going to leave it to Lauren. She's on the dam cam, and we're going to go across the dam wall. So we've been basically doing the central kind of western bits of Djuma this morning and the south. So now we're moving across the dam wall towards the east. See what we can pick up on there. I really just like to familiarize or get reacquainted with Djuma. The first kind of drive that I have. Actually, the first day. Small hyena. Get used to the change in light and all those kind of little things. And just get a feel for the bush again. So I really don't mind not finding too much on the first day back. And he's gone. All right. I'll just give you a quick look at the dam, because like I said to you, Lauren's on the dam cam, so I'll leave all the animals to her. I always like to watch in and around these areas, because it's also the areas that the lodges are in, or like Viatella and Gallagher, the lodge around these areas. So you get monkeys a lot here, and when monkeys alarm call, it's also a great indication. I'm mentioning the monkeys because I can see some by the rooms. Anyway, let's keep on going to the east as we planned.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. We're still out and about, and we just got to this beautiful little dolerite outcrop with a number of plants, and it almost looks like it had been perfectly done by a landscaper who had a number of survival trees and plants in consideration. And if we start having a look, there's so many different plants right over here that has practical uses for us. The first one that we have over here, this one is known as a star chestnut, which is one of my favorite trees. And I always have a good association with leopards with this tree, because it almost always grows in rocky outcrops. And the biggest one I've ever seen, and one day, because I always wanted to see the flowers, I walked up to this big tree and I saw the flowers, and I still said, just be careful, we might find leopard in this area. And as I was seeing the flowers, I was so amazed about the beautiful flowers in this, and I looked down, and right in front of us there was a leopard that was busy staring at us. We just pretended that we didn't see it, didn't make eye contact with it, and we moved sideways, and luckily the leopard moved off. But to come back to this tree, the star chestnut, we can both eat the seeds. However, you must just be incredibly careful when you are removing the seeds, because of the hairs surrounding the seed can irritate the skin. It also has a lot of value for us in terms of making fiber if we have to survive out here, if we want to make ropes. It's also been used in some parts of Africa for making fishing nets. And then also the wood is nice and soft, which is one of the perfect wood types for making a base plate. As it becomes a little bit right over here, you can see a raisin bush with a very straight stems over here. Those are quite often used for our friction sticks. And then as it become a little bit further onto this side, we've got a number of plants over here, which is known as a mother-in-law's tongue. This one has been seemed to have been eaten or by something, or damaged by something. So quite often when you do look at the mother-in-law's tongue, it's got a fairly straight edge to the tip, hence the name mother-in-law's tongue, as often mother-in-laws have sharp tongues. As you can see, this piece over here has already been damaged. This is also a perfect plant for making rope. Just want to take a little piece over here, and these little pieces are then stripped, and the fleshy part of the outer part of that is then removed. And eventually what you'll do is you'll roll these fibers and you'll create smaller pieces, and eventually you can twine several pieces into one another to start making your rope. We've made a rope a few days ago from the inner bark of a knobthorn, and it is incredibly strong pieces of a rope that can be produced from this. Another function with this plant is you can heat up the leaves, and then you can squeeze that warm juice into your ear if you have earache. And let's have a quick look what else we can find over here. Then we've got over here also a velvet leaf corkwood, which is also one of the trees that holds a large amount of water in the roots, as well as the roots can be eaten when it comes to periods of drought. It's been fairly well protected over here. Generally the elephants push this one over, but I think with these little rocky rocks around here has prevented them from coming in here. So with the corkwood, you can also use it for base plates. So wood is also fairly soft, and in some species of corkwood we can also eat the fruit. Well, we're going to spend a little bit more time walking into this direction, go and see what we can go and find. And in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Krishala.
Well, at the moment, I'm on Central Road and I'm heading towards the eastern section of Djuma. Hopefully, go off to Chitwa as well if we have some time, because now that there is actually sun that's out and hitting us and it has warmed up a little bit, it might be a good time to check out Bafosik Dam and see if there's any elephants that have decided that it's a good time to have a drink. So we'll do that, meander about a little bit there, and then if we still have an hour or so of drive left, we'll head over to Chitwa and check that dam out, see if there are any elephants around there too. I'm very glad that it's heating up. It's also obviously kind of a nice time stamp, if that makes sense. So I know that before it heats up like this, I prioritize those animals that are not going to be moving too much when it's warmer. Now in winter that kind of line is blurred a little bit because it's cooler for longer and animals change and adapt as well. But it gives me some focus, and I always like that on drive. So first thing, I like to focus on predators when it's very cool, and as it starts to heat up, then more things like elephants, antelope, stuff like that. Obviously that's not a hard and fast rule, it's just it is just something that helps me. Because obviously if I pick up on tracks or a predator and it's later in the day, I'm not going to suddenly not show you because I've decided to focus on antelope and elephants. It just always helps to have a bit of a plan for your head, because I mean ultimately it's just what the bush decides that it's going to show you today. And whether you will place yourself at the right spot and at the right time. I like this drainage a lot because I often find elephants here. It's the drainage by Nyala Road south and north. We're just going to park here and have a look, because often I find that I will kind of search, but okay, let's stop here. I can search while I'm driving, but if I stop and have a look and just wait a little bit, you'll find that the grayness of the elephants actually start to emerge. Anyway, I'm going to sit here for a few moments, take it in, see if anything pops out.
Wild Earth knows it is critical to help as many young people as possible to connect with the natural world. We hope that by bringing the wilderness to our future conservationists, we will inspire a love for nature and perhaps plant a seed which will flourish in the future. Over the years, kids from countries all over the world have joined us on safari.
I really enjoyed learning about the leopards and the cubs and how they hunt and live.
We got to see different types of antelopes, and we also saw our male lion's tracks.
I got to learn about like different types of animals in their natural habitats.
It was like we were on a real safari, so it was kind of cool. We got to see a lot of unique animals.
That whole Safari Live video just inspired me to fulfill my dream of becoming a safari guide as well.
Hi everybody, I'm Tiana, I'm from Johannesburg, and I am one of Wild Earth's biggest fans.
Been watching for 4 years, DG here from the Ozarks.
It's been 4 years for me and I'm not leaving anytime soon.
It's given me a time away from the hassles of the city, and it's given me a connection to a place that has stolen my heart, which is Africa.
Last year we lost our son, and now we're just watching Wild Earth. Love to all you guys.
You are reminding us of the role that we play in nature conservation, each and every one of us. You have reconnected myself to a dream that I had as a child to get involved in nature conservation, and for that I'm really grateful for as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Welcome back. We finally decided to leave the hyena den, and luckily enough we found these two giraffe. There's actually a few more of them, so it's not just these two, and it's a little bachelor group, and as you can see these males are going at it. So they're using their horns to slam into the other male to try and basically knock him down. It's quite strange how that one, did you see how the one on the right just lifted up its head? They were both doing it a little bit earlier. You can see the one behind is now trying to move himself into a better position. From there, it doesn't look like he can actually be hit, but maybe he can try and swing his head around and hit this other one at his back legs. The sounds are also amazing. See, they're both lifting up their heads like that. That's very, very, something I haven't really seen before. Yo, what a beautiful picture. So you can tell that these are males not only by their behavior, but you also just look for, see how thick their horns are at the base. Female giraffe have much thinner horns, and you're not very likely to see them hitting each other like this. Whoa, big swing there. Oh, this one started to eat. I wonder if it's going to be blindsided. Dion, I don't think they do a lateral display. I haven't seen anything like that before. They'll probably do some sort of sizing up of one another before they fight. This doesn't look like it's a very, very vicious fight. These giraffe are quite young, so perhaps it's just a half-hearted attempt. They're basically learning and picking up some skills. But usually in the animal kingdom, before fights actually happen, they would always size each other up, and so these animals also want to avoid injury as best they can. So if one of them can see that the other one or their contender is a lot bigger than him, usually they would walk away and try and avoid a fight. So I suppose that could be deemed as some sort of display. As they take in the size of their opponent and how dangerous he could be. You can see the smaller one definitely trying to stay out of harm's way there. So sometimes the giraffe, when they are doing this, they'll knock each other down. And it can actually become lethal. But this bigger one seems to miss very often. We're probably just going to have to move a little bit. We are losing sight of these two. Let's go a bit further forward. I don't want to obviously go too close to them. You can see how they've just stopped and the one is looking at us. Could you see a big thud as that one made contact? And they've gone into a place where it's got quite a lot of thorn trees. It's quite thick through there where they are heading. Oh, it looks like that one is now starting to run away a little bit. I have to try reposition again. No, I haven't seen a giraffe missing an ossicone before. I've seen pictures of one with what looks like almost an extra one or a third one. But I'm sure it probably has happened when giraffe would be missing an ossicone. Another reason why I think this is definitely just like a learning curve for these two young giraffe is because I mentioned how there's another few males around here. It looks like they're part of a bachelor group. Often when there is proper fighting going on, it'll be two very old bulls around a herd of females and their youngsters, because they'd only usually fight when there's a female around that's an estrus. And you can see now at the moment they've literally just separated and gone apart to go and feed. So now that these giraffe have stopped fighting, we'll send you over to rule in Ngala, and we are going to keep going.
Looks like we've just managed to find some warthogs. There is two of them here. One is behind the bush. But it looks like that one has got an itch that I was trying to get rid of. Let's see if we will be able to get another view of these animals. There is a bigger one where that one is headed with massive tusks. And I tell you what, to see warthogs that would be this relaxed. Normally when we see them, they just run and they disappear. I think they'll pop out somewhere there. Warthog is quite an interesting animal. They shelter underneath termite mounds, or abandoned termite mounds to be precise, where they go in. But the tricky part is when they go inside, they reverse in, just in case they have to make an emergency exit. So they're facing the exit there. So they're very big. They feed on almost whatever they can find there. They're not quite picky, both plant and insects, whatever they can find. But look at the tusks on that warthogs. Those are massive tusks. Could probably do some serious damage with those. Nancy, I think you're right. Those tusks are very lethal. I mean, one wrong blow could be quite deadly to predators, especially leopards or cheetah, as they try and hunt these guys a lot. In fact, it's not an easy prey for any of those to catch. Warthogs are quite fast on their feet. But sometimes life happens and the leopard becomes successful in catching warthogs, or the lion or the cheetah or the wild dogs become successful. Like they're enjoying the area where they're in. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the snout of a pig, which is similar shape to the snout of the warthog, that little pointy tips on the surrounding. They use that to just shovel the roots of the grass, and they flick them, and they get to access whatever is underneath there, the roots or the bugs that could be underneath the soil and all that stuff. So that little snout is quite useful to them.
We're here at Buffelshoek Dam, and we have 2 hippos and 1 little calf. That's amongst them too. They're at an end of the dam that's really nice and close to us, so we get to have a good look at them. Of course, as soon as I say that, they want to tuck down and be all shy. But I'm very lucky today at the dam because I've been waiting. Let's just reposition because these elephants have just come down to drink. That's what I was waiting for. So we'll obviously stick around here for as long as we can. Watch them drinking, having a good time, see if there's any others that will come down. I was really hoping that this would happen. The hippos obviously found it very funny that I wanted to wait around waiting for the elephants and not for them. Sorry, hippos, you are not priority. There, I just went and said it. Oh, but seeing elephants, that is. I love elephants. My favorite sightings out here, and it's so hard for me to pick favorites. Well, now that I even say that, I don't know if I can say it. But basically, I love elephant sightings. I would choose an elephant sighting over most sightings. That's probably the most correct way to express what I'm trying to express. That I like the sightings a lot. But my ultimate favorite sightings are those where there's different species interacting. Anyway, that's off topic. We're watching lovely elephants having a drink now. So what I'm going to do is, because they've just come down to drink while I was watching the hippos, so what we're going to do is we're going to reposition to try and get us a really awesome view of them here at Buffelshoek Dam.
We just thought we would maybe try and reposition and see if we could get a better view of them. And look at that. Looks almost as if these tusks have curved inwards, almost in front of his eyes. Now that is impressive. And if you compare them to the tusks of the other warthog that's there, you can see that makes them look very small. It's known that this warthog doesn't really have very good eyesight, even during the day. So if animals try to ambush it and they can sit perfectly still, it's not easy for them to really make up what it is, but when they're hearing and the sense of smell is very good. That's why you'll see when they run, the tail erect and stand right up, and that makes it easier for the other warthog, in case that warthog might have piglets, to be able to follow. Because if you look at that warthog where they are, both of them, it actually looks like a termite mound or a little hump of rock or a dead fallen over tree, especially if you can't see the tusks, they're behind the grass. And with the tail up erected like that, when the animals are running, especially at high speed, they are able to see in the tall grass where the tail is sticking up and is distinct. So they are able to follow that and keep up with each other. It really looks like these warthogs have found that one place where they're getting so much to eat. So I don't think they'll move around a lot today unless the sun warms up and they might need some shade. So we're going to leave them now. So we'll send you guys over to Lauren.
Here at Buffelshoek Dam, but they were very quick about it. Now they're moving off just on this side. Small head, not one I recognized, but I was hoping that the rest of them would come join this herd to have a bit of a drink. But they're missioning away. They don't seem terribly relaxed, but not uneasy, sort of like they need to be somewhere. See a bit of hurried movement, but they're not uncomfortable. We can try and move along here and see if we'll be able to catch them again. I doubt it though, because it's very, very bushy where they've just gone in. No. But what I can do, they might come to the far end of the dam and have a drink there. So if I go in that end, I might be able to see them, or we might be able to see them. But while I do that, let me send you over to Angus, where I'm sure he's got a better view of his elephants.
Welcome back to Pinda, and from some fighting giraffe we actually came across some elephant bulls that were having a little bit of a tussle earlier. Now that one in your screen has just walked away from the other one who's behind a bush closer to us, but on the left hand side. There is another one that we can see as well. There's 3 of them here. That's the one that initial one was having a little bit of a fight with. It sounds like he's crunching on something. I don't know if you can all hear it through my mic, but it looks like he's crunching on some branches down there.
It's me to a phone.
He's eating bark. The sounds of watching elephants are always amazing. You can see all of them now are just feeding. So basically, monkeys in that tree as well. I thought I saw something moving a little bit further away. Alright, so we'll probably stay with these elephants for a little bit longer, but for now we'll send you off to another location.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. We're going to whisper and talk very softly. We're very close to a group of dwarf mongoose which is enjoying the sun just outside their little burrow. They've got a perfect little burrow that's facing eastward, which allows them to very rapidly retreat in case there's a potential threat. Also quite close by to the entrance of the burrow, we can see that there's a large amount of scat that's been deposited by them, and that's always on the east-facing side. As they start going out in the morning, sun themselves, and then go to the toilet before they go active. These little guys are also one of Africa's smallest carnivores, and they approximately weigh some 200 grams. I'm trying to see who's who in the moment in terms of size, because we can often identify the dominant female of a certain group as that she's almost 50% larger than any other group members. So we also find that, just like with meerkats that we have in the Kalahari, there's a dominant male and a dominant female that is the leaders of the group. The remainder of the individuals will assist with the raising of the young, just like that meerkats do. Quite often we see a lot of play taking place with these little dwarf mongoose, and quite often we see them that they're associated with other species of birds. I sometimes find that the species such as a fork-tailed drongo will follow them as they are feeding and that they're disturbing insects. But they're also known to have a relationship with yellow and red-billed hornbills, which will often wake them up in the morning and then sort of encourage them to go and eat. And as they're feeding and disturbing insects, then the hornbills will then catch these insects. But they also provide them with a valuable service of keeping an eye open for any immediate danger. I don't want to speak too much. I'm just scared we might spook them. It took quite a while for them to relax, so they became very curious and then came out to come and have a look. Let's just enjoy the sighting for the moment and see what they get up to. These little guys can be very alert, and they can also be incredibly skittish. However, if they do live around by houses, they become very tame very quickly. I had a few of them that often used to venture into the house where I live and come and see what's going on the inside. It's not the only species of mongoose where I've seen that behavior. I also had slender mongoose as well as yellow mongoose often coming into the house when I lived in the Kalahari.
The annual Safari Guide of the Year competition aims to create awareness for those men and women who dedicate their lives to tourism and wildlife. This year's event will be held at Marataba, a breathtaking privately managed section of the Marakele National Park in South Africa's Limpopo province. In celebration of this, Wild Earth and Marataba Luxury Lodges are offering all explorers a chance to win a 3-night stay at Marataba Safari Lodge for you and a friend. In addition to a spectacular land-based safari, Marataba Luxury Lodges offer an opportunity for guests to cruise peacefully along the Matlabas River, watching the animals as they drink and wallow. The lodge offers you a chance to lie by the pool or enjoy a spa treatment, and one night could be spent sleeping out under the stars in a luxurious treehouse. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer before the 30th of June, and it could be you heading off on a long-awaited getaway. Wild Earth Explorers. It's in your nature. For many years, Wild Earth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Guys, this is just incredible to get to see a curry bastard on Ngala. I think this may be my third, if not fourth time to see them in our property. The curry bastard is also known to be the most heaviest bird of flight. So you can see their neck is quite thick as well. And somehow they still manage to fly off. Beautiful color. I like the crest behind their head, that little tuft of hair. You can see the area that they're walking in is that section of the reserve where there has been a controlled burn. And knowing these curry bastards, they're probably looking for food. Insects, lizards, snakes, chameleons, whatever they can find. And having an open area like this burned out, it makes it open to get to see a little bit more. So I think these guys are out to enjoy whatever might be here on the ground, because now it's less grass, which means less obstacles for them to get to block their view. So Jesus, this is actually very, very nice to get to see this bird on our property. Vera, I think you're somehow right. It does look like half duck and half ostrich. It's an interesting species, though. But what's scary is that a bird of that size is almost threatened, so which means they are almost entering the red data list of endangered species, which is quite sad. But it is also a very large bird, so it's not going to be easy for them out here God. Guys, this was very nice to see these Kori bastards here. I think I'll send you guys to Angus and Pinda for some elephants for the meantime.
Welcome back to these elephant bulls, and they haven't moved too much. But that one on your screen is now feeding off a marula tree. So it was breaking branches off of that marula that's above it at the moment. You can see one branch just dropped out of his mouth. And now it seems to be feeding on a different type of tree. Can't actually see what it is at the moment. Looks like to me like it's pulling some sort of... No, that was a branch. I initially thought it might have been a creeper out of that little shrub below the marula. Elephants do seem to spend a lot of time feeding off of marula trees. And not only when they're fruiting, but they also eat the leaves and the bark and the roots as well. He's been with us for about 10 or 15 minutes now, and as soon as you come to us, he's moved off a little bit. I love the sounds of them when they're feeding, and the cracking and the crashing. Even listening to them chew can be quite an awesome experience. Yes, they do. So usually, especially the bulls, as they get bigger, the elephants' heads will just become bigger and bigger as they grow. So you'll be able to tell an older bull from a younger bull, and these ones didn't look like they were very, very mature bulls, probably in the age of around 30 years old or so. Elephants in the wild can live up to about 60 years old. Especially the size of their head. So a very old elephant bull will have a massive head compared to some of the younger ones. Shows the temporary kind of association that they have with one another. Laugh or move around on their own for a while, and they're also happy enough to join up with some other bulls. It seems like the very old bulls aren't usually associated with other elephants. From the herd for not such a long time, are sometimes seen in smaller bachelor groups like this. But let's send you over to Lauren on Dam Camp for now.
I I did have a hippo on the dam cam. It's still there. You can see the bubbles. They obviously don't breathe underwater. They are holding their breath, but you can see, oh, there we go. The hippos. Highly entertaining animals, I must say. I've thoroughly enjoyed sitting watching them on the dam cam. They're just bobbing up and down and up and down and up and down. And of course, you will be able to see them letting out that big exhale when they come up to the surface. They are just experts at holding their breath. Their lung capacity is slightly different from ours. And as they grow and as they develop and they get bigger, they can control their buoyancy to an absolute T. And of course, they can hold their breaths. So, FC, I'm ready for your questions. I'm not sure if I've lost FC here. Judy, you're saying what a peaceful scene. Absolutely. It's nice just to have the dam cam playing in the background. When you're in your room, you're relaxing, studying, doing whatever it is you do. Okay, I'm going to continue to sit here and watch my hippos, but I believe that JP has found a bird. No? You're staying with us, apparently. Oh, that's a little bit fast, that zoom. We are at the western side of the dam. You can see it still extends all the way back there. Oh! Look, who do we have here? Elton, can you just repeat that question from BPN? Hello, Mr. Monkey. Look at that. Standing up on his hind legs there. VPN, you're asking how often can hippos have calves? They can give birth once a year. And it also depends on the social dynamics of the social structure as well. Oh, no, I am not a very good cameraman. Monkey, slow down. There we are. I'm sure the rest of the troop is here as well. It also depends on the social structure as well. If there's a sort of takeover from a dominant bull, that will change the scenario with hippos. Unfortunately, dominant territorial bulls can be extremely aggressive and they will kill calves that they don't believe are theirs. Which is naturally a very sad scene to see, and we do witness it. They can drown them, and they can also just, of course, crush them in their mouth, which is not very nice, but it's infanticide, and it's the same as exactly what the cats do. There's no point in investing your time, your energy into raising offspring or assisting to raise offspring that are not yours. But hippos do have a gestation period of 8 months. And they do have a little bit of a baby moon, not a honeymoon, but a baby moon. So if they keep their calves, then most likely they'll only give birth every 2nd year. But if they lose, I see more monkeys. I'm just not fast enough to keep up with them. So it really does depend on the scenario. These monkeys are going to be highly entertaining, I think, but I believe JP has found some elephants at the dam.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. We just made our way back to Leopard Dam and we found 2 elephant bulls that came down to come and drink. We're just busy watching them at the moment and seeing what they're getting up to. This time of the year, with the temperatures being much cooler, it seems that they don't drink as much as they normally do in the summer. And their visits to the water holes are generally quite short, literally drinking and then simply leaving. Where in the summer, they often indulge in more mud bathing, as well as quite often coming to swim in these dams, which is one of my favorite things to watch elephants doing. There's nothing more entertaining as watching elephants actually swimming. It's such a great thing to watch. Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. We just got back to Leopard Dam. We relocated on 2 elephant bulls that are busy drinking. We're just actually discussing it amongst one another, how short their visits to the water holes are at the moment, seeing that it's cooler and that they tend to be less dependent on water compared to in the summer. Just to give you an idea, our daytime temperatures is in the mid-20s at the moment. Our nights are quite cool compared to the summer, where we can reach temperatures of 38 up to 40 degrees Celsius, which is quite hot. And our nights are generally also in the vicinity of 30 degrees Celsius, making animals more dependent on water at that time of the year. And being an elephant is also quite an incredibly difficult job keeping yourself cool. So one of the ways that you can do that is by simply coming to swim. And we often see the elephants actually swimming in these dams during the summer months, especially the younger bulls. They love to play fight when they're in the water as well. And the little ones also have a lot of fun when they're in the water. Other things that they also do to regulate their temperature are simply having little showers or mud baths as well. And then sometimes what we'll also notice on incredibly hot days that they will be fanning their ears a lot more often than what you would see at this time of the year. And the reason is that there's a thin little network of veins in the back of the ears, which actually regulates the temperature by simply flapping the ears. They can then bring down their temperature down to 3 to 4 degrees Celsius lower than normal conditions.
There's been quite an interesting turn of event where those quarry bastards were. It looks like there's quite a lot of bird life in this area. There was just a tawny eagle that just took off now. But however, in a distance on the other side of the horizon, we're going to try and see if we can find it now. There is an ostrich that's there. It's right in the middle of the screen right now. A little black dot that you see all the way on the other side, that is a common ostrich. And when we looked earlier on, there was at least about 2, if not 3 of them moving around there. I think the rest of them could have moved behind some bushes. I think that one ostrich is now behind a bush for us to see. We'll wait here, see if it moves again, for you guys to get to see it. there we go. Just moved out of the bush now into the open area. What's interesting is that this is the burnt section of the reserve where we had a controlled fire. And I think what's happening is because everything out here is now exposed and the insects don't really have a lot of grass to hide behind, and neither do the lizards or the frogs and all that. So I think all these birds are coming out here to try and see if they can take advantage of that. Makes it much easier for them to try and find a meal. And I'm sure you can see close to the ostrich, there's a few wildebeests moving around there, and I think they've been attracted here by the fresh growth of grass after they've just burnt the area here. There's new grass that has just sprouted, so I think these wildebeests are after that. But what I like about where we are is that we have an amazing view. The landscape here, it is just phenomenal. We get to see wide out, and we get to see the Drakensberg Mountain, and it's just crazy. Look at that. You get to see the mountains from here, and everything else is just stunning. All right, we're going to send you guys over to JP, and we'll see what else we can find for you this morning.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. We're still at Leopard Dam with our 2 elephant bulls. That's still busy having a drink. We're just discussing a number of strategies how elephants actually cool themselves down, and that they tend to swim less often in the winter months when the temperatures are cooler. We often see that they can also come and mud bathe over here, as well as throw water directly over themselves by hosing it over with their trunks. One of the bulls, the one that's specifically now on the left-hand side of us, is currently also having his penis out. And this is another strategy that they use to actually regulate temperature, because the skin is fairly thin and it forms quite a large surface area. They can either expose it to shade or to sun, and in that manner decrease or increase their body temperature. We will also quite often find that they will be flapping their ears quite often, specifically to cool themselves down, and the skin behind the ears are quite thin, and by flapping and constantly flapping they can bring down the body temperature by approximately 3 to 4 degrees Celsius. I find elephants also particularly interesting in terms that they have a preference for clean water, and quite often they will be quite deliberate in breaking taps in some of the camps where we were, and drink straight from the water itself. I can remember a few years ago, one of my colleagues, he found an elephant that was busy breaking one of these taps, and we had words of him, and the next moment he decided to actually flung the tap and the whole pipe at us. Some of the lodges where I've worked in the past, they've actually deliberately broke the pipes that goes into reservoirs, simply standing on it. And if you think of it, that if you've got 6,000 kilograms of weight, that's a fairly easy task to break a steel pipe that goes into a cement reservoir. And then they'll just simply drink from that little outlet. We also quite often find that within the Kruger National Park, they will deliberately go to man-made reservoirs and drink from those by simply popping the trunk into the reservoir and often resting their tusks on the edge of these cement reservoirs. And that actually leaves a little ridge underneath the tusks, which was one of the features that they used to use to identify tusks and where they come from if they were confiscated in anti-poaching operations. It seems as if our elephants are moving off. Maybe they are going to come to this muddy area. Let's see what they get up to. Maybe they are going to have a little bit of a mud bath. I'm just going to reposition in an area where we can view them a little bit better. So often you do see us walking with dangerous animals, and we always give them a fair amount of distance, as well as we make sure that there's escape route for ourselves and for them. And we never alter their behavior in the process when we view them. And when we leave a sighting, we make sure that we leave the elephants or the animals we found in precisely the same manner as that we found them, without altering any form of behavior. It seems
This is Jake Whitener, all the way from the US, and he is a holder of the Ticket to Dream.
I decided to support and buy the Ticket to Dream to help Wild Earth in its mission of conservancy towards animals and the environment.
If you want to go on safari with a Wild Earth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
And I would highly recommend that people would be involved in that program.
Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
Ever since I was able to get the Ticket to Dream, I've been looking forward to coming on this drive. It is an absolutely fabulous experience, and it's great.
Founded in 1973, the Endangered Wildlife Trust has consistently and effectively worked towards achieving our conservation legacy. Contribute to this legacy by visiting EWT's Get Wild eShop and purchase products with a purpose.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Well, you've had an exciting last 15 minutes, but exciting from afar. So in an area where we can't get signal, but I also couldn't go into Bavuza because it was all crowded. And there's certain slots that are available to go into different properties, so they were taken up. But from the road, Oda and I did see some lions. And I saw the tail of Tavangumi. The lions were following him. I mean, at a not a good distance. They weren't like, on top of him. And then we watched for a little bit with my binoculars, and then we saw that he had tucked into the drainage and the lions had moved off into the bush too. And we tried really hard to show it to you, but it is out here, middle of nowhere, and sometimes signal can be poor in certain areas. But what we're doing now is, well, firstly, the reason I'm saying that to you is that this evening, it could be this afternoon, a good idea to go search up that way. But what we're doing at the moment is keeping an eye out for more lions, because much earlier this morning there were tracks and 2 lionesses seen in this area when we were kind of all the way in the east. So we're hoping that I can pick up on some tracks or something like that to give us an indication of where those lions went. Anyway, let me send you over to Angus. He's got a bird of prey in a beautiful dead tree.
Welcome back, and we're still sitting with this tawny eagle. It looks like it's still preening itself and just taking good care of its feathers. It's very important for birds to do things like this so that if their feathers aren't well looked after, then obviously their flight will definitely be hampered. They'll waste a lot of energy trying to fly, and probably one of the most important things for a bird is being able to, especially for the eagles, to hunt and get around. So I've just been looking at the book, and I mentioned how this one didn't look extremely big initially. So I've just had a look at, there's quite a lot of information on a tawny eagle, because there's quite a few eagles that look quite similar to them. Like on this page you see the lesser spotted and the steppe eagle, which I mentioned you don't find here at this time of year, so they're a non-breeding migrant to the area during our summer months. So the tawny eagle is quite variable in terms of its plumage and how it looks. It also changes. I mentioned those white spots, and you can see the plumage does change from a paler color to a darker color as it molts and it gets a little bit older. So that's the reason why I think it's quite a young one, and that paired with the fact that I don't think it was a very, very big tawny eagle. So when I initially saw it, I thought, oh wow, this is not a very big eagle at all. So possibly a reason, or possibly a way for us to tell that it's a younger one. Tawny eagles are predatory birds, so they'll eat small antelope, scrub hares, but they'll also scavenge readily from a carcass. And you can actually see it's got a very, very big hooked bill. It's scratching under its chin now. See, now it's lifted one foot up and just perched on the other one. might even be just waiting for the sun to get a little bit higher in the sky when usually as things get hotter it creates a little bit of wind. As air starts to rise and fall and pressure differences occur across different regions. And winds will help birds of prey get around because it helps them if they just open up their wings and that wind is flowing through or over their body. That can help them create a little bit of lift, which would then make them be able to fly around without actually flapping too much. So it'll save them energy, especially these big birds of prey which have very broad wings. Most of them spend a lot of their time hunting by flying, unlike smaller birds which would hop around in the trees and look for insects or fruit. But we are going to carry on going. We'll leave this tawny eagle and try and look for some lions.
Good luck with your lion search. I'm still watching the hippos. We did have a grey heron earlier, but I'm not sure where it's gone. My camera skills are really not the best, I must say. I'll need to learn from our wonderful camera operators, but it was hunting, so let me just see if I can relocate it. I love watching grey herons. They are really quite spectacular at fishing. And you can see right in front, that's a little pumped pan. Oh, we've got someone coming down to the dam to drink. But naturally, there's enough water everywhere right now that the pumped pan is not the only source of water that all these species have to rely on. I think we have some kudu. Look at the nervous reaction. Not sure what to do when you reach the water hole. Look at that. Look, everybody's looking, scanning. Because you're exposed, you're vulnerable. You're not hidden in the bushes, in the thicket. Oh, this is so lovely. Look at that young male. Senses can't really become more heightened in that regard. Oh, look at this one, horn rubbing. Oh, very fancy. They just become more hyper aware. So our senses don't change, even as humans, as mammals. Our sense of smell doesn't necessarily get improved when you're in a specific area. It's that you are tuning into that sense of smell more. Yes, our sense of smell, that's maybe not a good example, will improve if our nose has been blocked or we're maybe a little bit sick, of course. But generally speaking, they just become more hyper aware. But when you're an antelope, I touched on this yesterday, you really can't afford to ever not be hyper aware, hypersensitive to your surroundings. Listening, smelling, looking, constantly vigilant to what is going on. Because of course there is such a high density of predators around. Lions, leopards, wild dogs, hyenas. So your senses will never change unless you're getting older and maybe they're starting to weaken, but your senses don't change, you just tune into that sense more. So if you think about it, we're always smelling, but we're not always aware of it as humans. Whereas when we walk near an area where there may be cooking or there's some delicious aroma of food nearby, suddenly we smell it and then suddenly we tune into our nose, if that makes sense. So the senses don't change, but they do become hyper aware, and it's just extra vigilance when they become more exposed. Lots of threats are sort of present near a water body. Crocodiles, although there's no crocodiles at Gowrie Dam, they still have to be aware of that. And of course, as an individual bends down to drink, your rear end is completely exposed. You're not looking, or you can't see what's coming behind you. And that's where the threats lie, and that's why they are hyper aware, but their senses don't change. See, we're eating, but we're looking, constantly looking, extra vigilance. And they don't hang around for too long. And off they go, back to blending into the vegetation. I've still got a visual of this male here. I'm sure you're all loving my camera work. It's very smooth, isn't it? Look at this young boy, large horns, but you can still see that it's not a fully grown adult. Okay, that was such a wonderful moment. I am going to continue my search around the dam.
All right, let's try and see what else we can find this morning for you guys. I know earlier on they had found a big male lion, one of the Ross males, and it looks like the area that he headed in was the area where the cubs are. And knowing that, there are at least 7 cubs, and we couldn't get there just because it is only one vehicle allowed in at a time. So there were people that were ahead of us that were going there. However, it was very nice to see the ostrich and the eagles and the curry bastard, especially the curry bastard part. So we want to see if we can be able to see anything else while we're driving down this road, and then see if we'll be lucky enough to spot, or whether it'll be a very nice bird or anything happening, or some animals that we may find for you guys right now. But I do think that the curry bastard was the highlight of the morning for me. Seeing that bird is quite spectacular. It's not always that you get to see one of the world's heaviest birds of flight, or let alone to see the largest bastard in the family. So that was a treat. Guys, there is fresh scat of lion right down here on the road. I'm not sure if you will be able to see that, but it also looks like there's tracks of lion here on the road headed north in that direction that we're heading in. I am going to take a slow drive just to see amongst the tall grass if we will be able to see anything or pick up anything. It is starting to warm up and the heat is picking up, and I think that this animal that made this scat here would possibly settle down somewhere here. So wish us luck. We'll see what we can find.
Hi everyone. I am on what is to me the least pretty road in Djuma. Power lines, because there's a power line running through it. But some tracks have led me here. Line tracks. So hopefully we will see something before the end of drive. The thing is that these animals seem to move through this area as opposed to kind of all walked along the road, kind of crossed the road. And lots of hyena tracks too. Okay, cool. I've picked them up again. Oh, all this pressure. We just have a few minutes left to show, and I want to find the lions. At least we have some good tracks to follow. All right, let me send you over to JP at Pridelands while I hopefully find these guys.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. We're just looking at a number of interesting trees again. And the one that we have over here, a fairly dark blocky bark, has weeping boerbean. They make these very typical kidney-shaped seed pods, which I will show you in a moment. It's also, in the summer months, they produce the most beautiful of the red flowers. And these red flowers will continuously drip large amounts of nectar onto the ground. And that's one of the reasons why it's called a weeping boerbean. But it's also said that it's also affected by spittle bugs that will also feed on the plant, and the excess sap will then drop to the ground. This is one of the seed pods right over here. These are quite often collected and then roasted, and it was used as an alternative for coffee. Some of the other interesting associations with this plant is that it was also used for the making of wagons. And in the early days, wagons formed a very important part in transport in Southern Africa. And as mentioned in one of the previous episodes, when we were discussing the adventures of Jock in the Bushveld, where they would use wagons all the way down from the central interior of South Africa and move down to Maputo, which was in those days known as Lorenzo Marques, which is situated in Mozambique, to collect things from the port and then bring it back into the interior. It was often quite heavy pieces of mining equipment that was also transported in that way. And then by the late 1890s, the first railway line was produced between Pretoria and Maputo, which brought the end of a transport era and the need for wagons. Some of the other plants that we can find over here, this is a very small apple leaf that's right over here. Also a fairly easy tree to identify. Normally when we look at the leaves, it's got 3 individual leaflets, and if we crush it in our hands, that sounds like an apple that's being chewed, hence the name apple leaf. It's also one of the tree species which is associated with spittlebugs and also known locally as a rain tree for that reason. It's said that in periods of drought, these leaves were often harvested and then cooked as an alternative for spinach. I don't think that they can really taste very nice. It's also one of my favorite trees, as they often grow in riverine areas. They also make the most beautiful little purple flowers, and quite often those flowers will fall down to the ground, forming like carpets of purple underneath the tree. The roots itself is also quite useful, as it's often dug up and then crushed. And it contains a toxin that's known as rotenone, which is a very powerful fish poison, which is then used to kill fish. You just have to cook the fish very well after that you have caught it. And another little small shrub that we have over here, I'm sure most of you are familiar with this plant. It is actually one of the members of the basil family. However, this one is not the introduced plant species that we commercially use. This is known as a wild basil. And quite often when you smell it, you can smell that beautiful basil aroma that comes from there. This has often been used by a number of different indigenous people, where they would take the leaves, the stems, and then dry it and churn it into a powder, and that would be mixed with fat and then rubbed onto the body. And that's basically the easiest way that you could get a perfume to make yourself smell slightly better. You can also use this for cooking.
Educating our youth about the environmental threats we face is critical. Our future depends on it. The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, is actively leading the charge. Their goal is to encourage children to fall in love with our natural world and to empower them to live sustainably in the future. Through their school programs, the children learn to report on environmental issues through videos, articles, and photos.
The YRE program has changed my life in so many beneficial ways. Being out there at the workshops, I was entitled to talk with others, socialize, as well as my writing skills and leadership skills have improved, so it has been great.
WESA is a membership-based organization. By joining WESA, you will be helping to provide valuable support for these youth education initiatives.
Hi everyone, my name is Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at and beyond Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through and beyond Ngala on Wild Earth. Send me live questions through the Wild Earth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Promisingly, there are tracks leading directly into the block, so that's great. No tracks coming out of the block for the lions, so that means that they're somewhere in the block. It's just a massive block, so we are doing a second loop, trying to have a look. That's the block right there. And you can see with the color of the grass at the moment, it's basically lion colored. So they blend in very, very, very well. I often think about things out here. I mean, you know, it's good to think about stuff. But when you're out here, you can be inspired by a lot. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is the color of this grass and how perfectly well it suits the coat of a lion, and whether, because the grass turns this color when it's the dry season, so resources are a little bit more scarce, I wonder if their color helps them be more successful at a time when there's less rain and less abundance. Just a thought. Hi Hi, Sonia. You'd like to know how do we measure a block? A block is not a unit of measure. A block is just a space between four roads. So, like, the block on your street, the block that your home is on, there'd be like a main road, and then a street to your east, street to your west, street to your north, and that would be a block. So a block is just an area in the middle of four roads that are moving in east, west, and north-south direction. So it's not a measurement. That's why a block can be very large, or it could be a very small block. It all depends on how those roads intersect. So this one is a particularly large block. There isn't a road. Ideally, it'd be nice if there was a road kind of going down the middle of it, but there isn't. And sometimes the way you can tell that it's a particularly large block is if there are many game parts to it. Game parts are parts that are used by animals very frequently, so much so that they create like a footpath. And when blocks are particularly large, you have a lot of those game paths going through them, because animals are more likely to use them than go find the nearest road to use. And animals would prefer to use roads or game paths because it provides them with the least resistance when they want to get seriously from point A to point B, or they want to scent mark, things like that. When animals are hunting, then the use of those are a little bit less necessary, or rather cover is more necessary. Okay, so now I've turned onto the road that runs north-south, so the block is still on my left, but we're just moving in a different direction. I have a feeling they're a little bit further up. I've seen no tracks come out. But I also know that there are impala around here. I also know that there's impala around in this area, which is great for me because it's like my personal lion alert system. Okay, we just have a few minutes, just about 3 or so minutes. So we're just going to speed it up, because if they're in the block, we're not going to get to them in 3 minutes. So let's try our luck. Impala, you gave me a shock, ladies. I thought you were a lion. I know you don't like that, I know. Don't worry, I wouldn't call you a lion. I thought I thought I was, you understand. Gosh, they look so shocked that I thought they were lions. They don't look terribly concerned. Nice group of ewes. Their only concern is me, really, because they're quite close to the road and I was looking in the other direction. But they've mostly got their head down and eating. There's just one that's still looking up. But when lions are flat in the grass, and especially this colored grass, they won't be able to tell. It's when the animal's up and moving that you'll hear most of the alarm calls. But it seems that they're pretty relaxed. So perhaps this afternoon we can come and check it out. This block again, also check out the north towards Sydney's Dam, Tavankumi. That would be nice. Also, there's not very much wind, so so they wouldn't be able to pick up the scent of the lions very well. But always a good idea to at least know where the impala are. So when you do hear an alarm call, if an animal does get up, then you can remember, oh, I saw these impala at the junction here and here. Let's go and check that area. But these guys, I can see them ruminating and eating. Everybody very relaxed. I'm especially glad to have spent some time with those elephants today, though very brief, and though mostly the behind of them. But they did come have a drink at Buffelshoek Dam. So I'm very glad that we managed to get that this morning, and I'm sure that this afternoon we'll have a lot more sightings. Well, thank you guys for your questions and your comments and joining us. We'll see you this afternoon for Sunset Safari. Bye for now.